people to remember that I led with my heart, and I just tried to be kind and funny and of service and, right my wrongs and like just share as much love and joy with people as possible. And I'm really fortunate that I'm on a show that brings me into contact with so many people where I get to do exactly that. I definitely am much more grateful to Stephanie now, I think, than I was at 13.
Jodie Sweetin is best known for her work on Full House and its Netflix spinoff, Fuller House. She even currently co-hosts a Full House Rewatch podcast with her former co-star, Andrea Barber. But outside of that world, she starred in the Jane Mystery series and multiple Christmas movies for Hallmark. Adding to her many acting credits, she authored the 2009 memoir, Unsweetened. She's also a passionate activist. In joining the Dory Jackson interview, Jodie opened up about reclaiming Full House for herself, her sobriety journey, motherhood, and more.
Hi, how are you? I feel like I haven't seen you, in a year? Because we talked last time for your Lifetime movies, so it's...
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's right. So yeah, it's been about a year.
Yes, and I literally went to the wrong location, and you were just so kind to wait for me, so I'll never forget that.
That's right. Oh. Yeah. Don't even worry about it. Been there, done that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, life happens. Don't even discuss.
Luckily, you're somebody I know a little bit, so I'm like, okay, it's not as...
Yeah, exactly. It was not, that was not the end of the world. Don't even stress about that.
Exactly. Well, for those who don't know, I met you through the 90s con circuit with the and all of that. So as someone like yourself who grew up in the 90s during that time period, what is something that you both miss and don't miss from that era?
I would say cell phones. I mean, that feels like I both don't miss cell phones of the 90s, like not having them. That's amazing. But also there are definitely things that not having them in the 90s made things much more difficult than it is now. So it's like, the blessing and the curse. But I feel like we don't get bored anymore. We always have something to entertain us. And I think, sometimes we need to just kind of be bored and daydream a little bit. And the 90s were a good era for that.
Yeah, it was kind of like that last little chunk of time before we all started getting the cell phones in a real way.
Right. We had technology, but technology didn't have us. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It has us now.
Yeah, it has us. It has us. Deep in its grips.
Yeah, no, I have to consciously take social media breaks and phone breaks because I'm we're always on it naturally.
I have been on such a social media break for a while now. I will go in and I'll answer messages and I'll post some stuff here and there, but it's just very hard to post on social media these days. Because you're if I want to post happy stuff, do I want to hear it from people that are just being stupid on the internet? No. If I want to post something genuine, or political, then I got to hear it. It's just been it's exhausting. I've had to take a break and just do it in real life, real life community work, as opposed to, trying solving problems on the internet exclusively.
I'm going back to the 90s con.
Yeah, go back to the 90s.
Because we went on a tangent. But so when you go to these 90 cons things, I'm sure it's you're seeing people you either worked with, admired, or befriended back then. Did you have any fun backstage interactions during any of those events, or has there been moments where you were starstruck?
Oh man, it's funny. It is like a family reunion, those 90s cons, especially for everyone that is kind of in our age cohort. You know what I mean? The young actors, whether we were, 10 or 18, kind of that cohort of people. It's always fun to see everybody. And, there are people now that have gone on to be incredible voice actors and, that are running this business or whatever. So it is fun to get to come back and see everybody. Oh, it wasn't a 90s con, but it was a fan convention, but it was me and Andrea Barber. So I'll claim it as 90s. And I don't know why, but I started this thing with her. There was a whiteboard in the convention hall behind the scenes. And I would just walk by and write AB was here on it. And I just kept doing that. And then finally she wrote back, no, Jodie Sweetin was here. And I was like, oh, great. Now I'm going to get in trouble for my tagging of the whiteboard. But just silly stuff like that. we really enjoy getting to come out and see fans, but also kind of the big draw is getting to come out and see each other.
I'm sure. And I know that Full House has no shortage of fans, but has there been a surprising celebrity that's come up to you and said, "Oh my gosh, I loved you on that show," or anything like that?
Oh man. I'm always shocked that that anyone knows the show. I realize it's Full House and it's an institution.
Yes.
But I guess because for me, it was just the life I lived and it wasn't something I watched and I'm like, oh, it doesn't feel weird. The most starstruck I ever get is over Muppets. So it's really where I get excited. I got my picture with Statler and Waldorf at the last convention I was at, and I'm happy. That's it. Yeah, the two little old men, grumpy old men Muppets.
I mean, you can't go wrong with the Muppets. Who doesn't love them? So,
There are some people that don't, that find them
wait,
ridiculous, and those people are not my people.
who are those people? Because
I don't know. I don't know, but I'm sure they're out there.
That's true. There's always people that don't like things, it's fine.
Right.
So, Full House was and still is, of course, as we noted, just such a big part of your life. And I'm sure playing such a beloved character on such an iconic show can present challenges when trying to progress forward in your career, both professionally, but also even personally. But do you feel like returning to Fuller House, doing that rewatch podcast with Andrea, and then hitting the fan convention circuit with so many of your co-stars has kind of helped you to reclaim that for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I was 13 when the show ended, which is just the most awkward time of anyone's life. You know what I mean? High middle school, and then end the career you've been doing your entire life. So it was, there was definitely, definitely like some awkward, stuff in there. It's nice to be able to return to the 90s now with a different perspective of like an adult who, you know what I mean? You can look back at your old childhood movies and be like, oh my gosh, that's so silly, and appreciate them for what they are. And also, like I said, going back and doing this rewatch podcast with Andrea, we got to kind of fall in love with Full House as we watched it too, having never watched the series like all the way through. We started realizing like, oh, yeah, there is something about this show and this family that just feels good. And I can see why people loved it and loved that family. So yeah, it's pretty cool to be a part of that and to be able to come back now and realize like what an incredibly special gift that is. Full House turns 40 this year.
That's good.
And I would say that there are maybe a handful of shows that 40 years later people still love, people still know, new fans start watching, like it, and that's an honor. You know what I mean? To be such a part of pop culture, not only here in the US, but like all over the world. That's crazy. It's crazy. And so I definitely am much more grateful to Stephanie now, I think, than I was at 13.
That's a beautiful thing. And you did say it's the 40th anniversary this year, which is just crazy to me.
Right?
To you, do you and the cast have any plans to celebrate that milestone?
You know what? We haven't talked about it yet, but I know we will. I'm sure John or Jeff will host some sort of something. It actually reminded me, I was like, oh, should start texting everybody and seeing kind of what the plan is, because I'm sure we'll do something. There's no way we can, get through a 40-year celebration and not celebrate somehow. So,
yeah, absolutely. And, of course, you've done so much outside of Full House. We talked about the Lifetime movie, which was so good, by the way. And
thank you.
We talked about that film. And then you have the Jane Mystery series. You have some Hallmark Christmas movies under your belt and then some. So what has been important to you for how you're shaping your career now post Full House, and what kinds of projects are appealing to you right now?
I really enjoyed doing a lot of the Hallmark and some of the Lifetime stuff, just because there's such an incredibly loyal fan crossover between, Hallmark, Lifetime, Full House. Like it's very much an audience that gets excited for movies, with people faces that they're familiar with. It was really fun to get to continue building that. and also, to get an opportunity to work on, on movies and stuff that I can produce and that I have input in and that I, have a little bit more agency over. And then just being able to, kind of branch out, especially recently with comedy and stuff like that. And, just kind of constantly keeping myself out there, but really moving more into positions of like producing or directing or just being more the creator of my own projects than waiting for, something to come around. Because I think we've all learned that like the world doesn't work like that anymore, if it ever did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're here right now talking to me. But I have to zero in on the Hallmark aspect because the Hallmarkies are such a dedicated fandom, and I'm sure you know. So is there a Hallmark star that you want to team up with for a movie that you haven't yet?
Ooh, who I would love to is I was just talking to her the other day is Melissa Joan Hart.
Oh, she's
Melissa and
lovely.
I get along so well, and she always says I remind her of one of her sisters. So I think we should play sisters in a movie. Just
I
putting
love
that out into the universe. She and I were talking about it the other day and laughing, and of course coming up with ridiculous ideas that would definitely not be appropriate. But
Well, now you have to tell
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. We were like, no, but for realsies though, that I think that's somebody who I would really love to work with. Plus, she's a badass. She produces and directs and like does all of her stuff. I have a lot of respect for what she's been able to do with her career too. So I think it would be fun, and I'd pick her brain quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, we love her, so I'm here for that.
Yes, oh
I'm
my
sure
god, I
the
love her.
fandom.
She's such a doll. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's such a doll.
You actually went viral recently, which I'm sure you are aware of because your comments talking about working a normal job and just that period in time. What you were explaining about that, it just showed that you were a single mom at the moment and you were doing what you had to do to survive and everything you could for your kids. So, however, after many years you spent in the limelight, how challenging was that period of adjustment to a quote normal life for you? And is there anything you do differently?
You know, because I came from a family of, a dad who was a very blue collar worker, worked down, at Long Beach Harbor and was a superintendent of a plant that makes gypsum and drywall. Like, that was where he worked. My mom had been a school bus driver. We didn't live in LA. Like I went to public school. I kind of always had my foot in regular life. Most of my friends that I spent most of my time with outside of Full House were normal kids that I went to school with that weren't necessarily in the business. And so I always, I think it was always other people. It was probably more problematic for other people than it ever was for me to just be a normal person. People are always like, "What are you doing here?" And you're like, humaning. I don't know. Like just doing the thing. And even now, like we have this idea of what it's supposed to be if you've been successful in this business for a long time. And anyone who's been successful in this business for a long time also knows that like sometimes you got to fill in. And I loved what I did. I loved working in treatment. And I am a person who I try and just kind of bloom where I'm planted. And like, okay, if this is where I'm at right now, then I'm going to put myself in 100% and I'm going to make it work and it's going to be fun. And I'm going to, make friends with people and like, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And that was really where I was at that point in my life was just like, all right, I mean, this is what we got to do. And I'm having a good time. So yeah, other people I think were like, when I worked in treatment, much more shocked than I was because I just never cared. I never thought it was a big deal. I never thought like being on TV made me some sort of special thing. So I was always like, why wouldn't I be here? I mean, somebody's got to do a job.
Stephanie Tanner, what are you doing here? Come
Right,
on.
and you're like, I mean, residuals were nice, but they don't last 40 years. You know what I mean?
No.
And it's still interesting, people still have this idea of like what financial success looks like if you're in this business. And I've seen a lot of people recently actually talking about, what you really make from residual checks and all that kind of stuff. And it's funny, people are like, oh, oh, like you gotta just kind of hustle in between. You're like, yeah, that's just like any other job.
Which I am sure is tough, but I think that's so true that everyone in your industry right now is kind of having to pivot and wear a lot of hats. I think, Selena Gomez is a perfect example because she acts, she produces, she has the makeup line, the beauty company.
Right.
There's so much happening there. And
Right.
so many stars are doing something similar now to just stay afloat. And I feel like we all are feeling the pinch right now because of the economy. So we got to do it.
Well, the economy. I was just reading this whole interesting thing, The Atlantic, talking about new artists and how, like, music artists, and how like Lizzo's newest album sold like 2,000 copies or something, and she was like, "It's not that my fans aren't there; it's just the algorithm has led people off." She's like, "Nobody knows," and it's crazy how much that happens now, where you're like, "Wait, I know that there's more people, but no, the algorithms are pushing us all towards certain things." And so it's a really interesting time to be an artist because you want to do something different, and yet doing different is not rewarded at all.
Yeah.
In fact, it's penalized. If you're not doing the thing that everyone's doing, the whatever TikTok trend or whatever, then you're not getting eyeballs on it. And I think, that's kind of it's the bummer. We've kind of watered everything down to just one day of a viral moment, and then we're on to the next, so
Yeah.
I sound like an old lady sometimes
No.
as far as my technology,
No.
and I'm only going to get more so. And but as somebody who loves what I do, who loves creating, and who loves watching people in other departments creating, art departments, prop departments, lighting, like all of these, I love watching all of these people create. And it just makes me really sad when we're all in a position right now where there's no more multicams. There's no, Disney and Nickelodeon just pulled all of their multicam sitcoms, and we're not shooting anymore in LA. Like it's very, very real. And so the whole idea of like, well, what can I do? It's both terrifying and also kind of freeing, because you're like, I'll try anything, see what, see how it goes.
Well, what about that particular job they were working appealed to you? And were you at that point ever anticipating not returning to acting at all?
I had originally gone into working in treatment after I got sober. And really, part of me had always wanted to go into psychology, be a therapist. Even, before I went through any of my stuff, I just always found human behavior and people fascinating, and wanting to help them help themselves through stuff. And I have a pretty empathetic nature in general. So working and helping people kind of get through what is oftentimes the hardest moments in your life, it was really rewarding, and it was fun. And, we had a good time, and it was also insane. So it had elements of that, of how I grew up, which was, you go to set every day, but every day you're shooting something new. There's a new problem to solve. There's, so it kind of felt the same a little bit. Sometimes there was, chaos, and then sometimes it was just hanging out. But I loved connecting with people and feeling like my experience and my listening could help them maybe get through it, or at least plant a seed, and I was actually working that job when I was pitching Full House. I think I did a Christmas movie at one point. That was like 2.5 weeks in town. But yeah, I was like, look, if it presents itself, I'd love to. It's my first love. I would always prefer to be doing that. But if it wasn't coming through, I didn't have time to just sit around and audition here and there. I had 2 kids, and I needed something to do, and it was really rewarding. So I think that was kind of what led me into that, and made me happy. I was getting something out of it as much as I was being able to give.
That's awesome and beautiful. And, you talked about sobriety and your own journey. So what can you credit for ultimately helping to keep you on track? And how long has it been exactly?
2011 was my last drink.
That's awesome.
And it's been actually, that might have even been 2011. And it's been such a journey. The work I did in 12-step programs, the work I did in outside programs and therapy, and also just kind of growing up and perspective and, all of those things, you get the opportunity to become a different person. And once you start actually liking that person, it becomes really hard to go back and, continue destructive behavior. You kind of go like, oh, wait, hold on. Maybe I want to take care of this little person inside here and, see what they're capable of. And I've been really fortunate to be able to do that. And I've definitely, fallen flat on my face along the way and learned hard lessons. But like, who hasn't? I don't know anyone who has gotten through this life unscathed, and that's the point. So, yeah. It's been an up and down journey. I will say it there came a point it just got easier to do the right thing, to make the right choice for myself. It just all of a sudden you're like, oh, yeah, no, none of that actually is at all who I want to be, and it's a very freeing feeling because, for so long, I think people like me use drugs and alcohol to not at all be attached to who they are. And so to be like, no, I like me. I don't need anything. I'm good, is very freeing.
Absolutely. And honestly, life is about making mistakes and then like learning from those mistakes. And
right.
we're not missing anything by
no, and it's not even missing. It's like it's such a I've also come to learn like everyone's path is different. Everyone's path in sobriety, in life, in faith, whatever it is, like it's all a little bit different. And the less dogmatic I was about what was, right and wrong and okay and what for me, and like once I kind of let that go, I found that it was like a much easier way to wear sobriety for me.
Yeah. Obviously the Full House cast is really close, and this is something I realize is that you, John, and Dave are all sober. So is that something that you guys are able to just connect on and lean on, support each other through?
For sure. John and I really connected in a lot of ways over that. He presented me with an award several years back for some of the work that I'd done. We have been there to celebrate each other's, big successes and milestones, and I am so glad that I got to be an example of attraction rather than promotion, which is a, big principle in recovery, which is like, don't beat people over the head, just be a result of all of your work. And chances are people that are looking will find you. So
your eldest daughter just graduated from high school.
She did. I know.
How are you feeling?
I'm really proud of her. I'm feeling a bit like in the weird zone now of parenting where like I don't have as much control and I really do kind of gotta let you go, but also like, well, you can't come home at 3:00 in the morning with your friend.
Yeah. You're still living at home.
You're, and remembering like saying, it doesn't, but I'm 18 now. It doesn't matter. And my mom, now I realize, probably wanted to just punch me in the face. Because you're like, yes, but I just am so proud of who she is and who she's becoming. I mean, she just went for a few days out to an Eastern Orthodox monastery out in like east of Glendale, and went for like 2 days, put her phone away, did service work. And I didn't even know. She's like, hey, Mom, I'm going to a monastery. I was like, what? What happened? Yeah. But she's like, I just need that. I need that every once in a while to like just connect with people. She's like, I didn't know who else would be there, who would be my roommates. Like, I was so incredibly proud of her for that. Like realizing, hey, you know what? Sometimes I put my phone down. I got to go meet people I don't know and connect with people of all ages and go and give back and like reset a little bit. And, like that's all I ever want for her. Literally, all I ever want is for my kids to be happy and to be able to know themselves well enough that they know when and how to take care of themselves on the inside.
Yeah, and that human connection thing is so important because it's happening right now. So
right, and my girls are at the older end, 18 and almost 16. Even they look now at kids like my Zoe some often will be like, these kids today. I'm like, girl, stop it. But she will, because she's like, no. But like even younger generation, like the kids that are in middle school and below now, she's like, it's so bad. And I'm like, the kids are noticing that the newer kids are not okay, So, but again, like I'm just glad that I've raised daughters with empathy and all of the things that like, you can't get, that you don't get graded on in school, but that are the important life skills to make you a good human being.
Absolutely. And is she preparing to go off to college, Zoe? You don't have to say where or anything.
She wants to do community college. She wasn't quite sure what she wanted to do, and she had an opportunity to play soccer somewhere at community college and get a scholarship. So she was like, yeah, let me like save, some student debt and all of that while I'm figuring out what I want to do.
Smart.
So yeah, and I'm so proud of her, because this was absolutely, I think, the right next step for her. I just wanted her to feel like she was in control of what comes next, and not like the outside, what you're supposed to do, what mom is saying you should do, all of that. And she did. And so I'm just really proud of her. She's like putting the pieces together, So, yeah, she can't put the dishes in the dishwasher, but she's putting the pieces of her life together. So I'll take the small wins where I can get them.
There you go. Are you kind of mentally preparing for that empty nester stage? Because, yeah, your youngest is almost 16. It's kind of coming.
I don't think it'll ever be empty. Do we ever empty the nest these days? I don't, hardly. At some point, my husband and I would like to, move out of LA, and that will obviously come once, they're done with school and all that kind of stuff. I'd still want a place here so they can fight over, who gets to stay in mom's condo or something. But, I think definitely it'll shift and change when they're older and of age. And it wants to perform, whether that's going to Juilliard or just going directly into it. I'm not sure yet. So, we'll see. But I'm not one of those parents who's been really afraid of their kids growing up. If anything, I have enjoyed watching who they have become, because it's been all of them, like I really tried to, give them the guardrails to just figure out who it is that they are and want to be. So far, so good. They both seem pretty happy.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And I know Zoe made a little cameo on Fuller House back in
She did when she was like 8 or 9, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Was the youngest one just too young, or you were like, no?
She was too little to, she didn't, and she was also really tiny.
Okay.
So I think Zoe was actually younger than Elias, maybe by like a year or so, but was his height. Zoe's always been tall. So she was really tall and B was really small. And so, Zoe did the guest thing, and, she was like, that's it. I never want to do that again. That was a lot of sitting around, and it was pretty boring. And I was like, yeah, welcome to Hollywood, kid.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and that was like my other question, like, was it more of a conscious choice on your part to not have them really acting just because you were a child star and you also had that normal life?
No, it just wasn't who they were. Zoe has always been an athlete and is a great soccer player, and like that's her strength. And she did, school plays and performed and stuff like that when she was young, and she's creative and loves that, but she's definitely more my athlete. And B has always been singing and doing dance classes and all of that kind of stuff. But, I know my kids, and I know what it takes to be a child actor. And one of the things that it takes is a willingness to put your own wants and like discomfort aside and do your job and show up on set when you're sick or when you don't want to, or when you're tired, or when something else fun is going on, or a birthday party, whatever. That's a huge requirement. And my kids really that wasn't a part of who they were. They were going to do what they were going to do. And I didn't want to change that about them. And so I was like, you know what? Performing will always be there, but this is a skill of standing up for yourself and saying, nope, this is what I want and this is what I don't want. I was like, I'd rather have them have that skill than figure out how to go be in a commercial,
Yeah, honestly, that's a more impressive skill at such young ages too.
Yeah, no, they've always been quite clear on what they will and will not do. much to my disappointment.
Oh.
No, they're really wonderful people. And, that's kind of like, that's all I hope for. When they come back from other people's houses, the parents are like, oh my God, we love them. They're so great. So that gives me hope because, as parents, we often don't see that side. We see the side where we're like, I don't know if anyone's going to like you. And then they go out in the world and they seem to be doing fine. So you're like, okay, I guess I've taught them both safety and how to act in public. So,
something that I love and admire about you is just how outspoken you've been about politics and your beliefs and just human decency and stuff like that. And I feel like it's an interesting time where celebrities are kind of tiptoeing around that a little bit more just because of brand safety and to avoid not getting certain roles and all of that. And for you, what makes it easier for you to just continue to just be so outspoken in that way?
I guess, and I'm, like I said, I've kind of taken a break from some social media stuff. But I've still been involved in like my service work and everything. But, honestly, a lot of it was like, how many lists do I want to be on? You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, maybe I'll just slow that roll a little bit for right now. I'll jump back in, and for me, it's a matter of like, I know I can go live a very normal life and be totally happy. I've done it. I don't need money. I don't need fame. I don't need all of that stuff. But these are the things that are important to all of us. And so if the fame gets me more attention to speak on that, cool. If speaking on that then becomes the thing that people avoid, great. You know what I mean? Like at this point, what do we got to lose? You know what I mean? I mean, other than everything,
Everything.
right? But I'm really fortunate. I've gotten to do work with Jane Fonda and the committee for the First Amendment, and just some really incredible, impressive people in that space. And I just, like I said, I have a big empathetic heart. There's that Rumi quote, like, we're all just here to walk each other home. And that's really it. And so I guess I just try and make that walk a little bit easier for people.
Yeah. When you look back on your life, what do you want people to say about you, the impact you've had, and the life you've built?
That she was funny. That's number one.
Well, they will definitely say that.
That's number one. Yeah. I've already told my friends, I was like, if you guys aren't cracking super inappropriate jokes at my memorial service, I will be disappointed and come back and haunt you for not being funny. But I want people, I guess I want people to remember that, that I led with my heart. I just tried to be kind and funny and of service and, right my wrongs and like just share as much love and joy with people as possible. And I'm really fortunate that I'm on a show that brings me into contact with so many people where I get to do exactly that. So, if I get remembered by 1,000 people for a one moment interaction, then I'll say I've done a pretty good job.
Yeah. What is next for you, and what do you hope is next for you too?
It's always the thing when you're working and you're like, I have like 3 things that are next that I can't talk about.
Okay, that's fair.
But soon, like literally one in a couple weeks. So yeah, there's definitely some fun stuff coming up. I'm working on writing some stuff. I'm still doing Smoke Show, which we have a show at the Lyric Hyperion in Hollywood on July 9th. And that has been really taking off. We've been doing several festivals with it and, trying to just kind of keep that growing and hopefully start streaming it so people outside of LA can see. But yeah, just trying to like kind of build my comedy, write, be creative and like do what I can in this economy.
No, for real.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be looking out for it and hope everyone else does as well. Jodie, this has been so good, and I'm so happy
to
do this.
So good to see you.
You, yes. We'll be in touch, of course.
Sounds good. Yeah. Let me know.
Yes.
All
Bye.
right. Bye, Dory.
Thank you so much for watching this week's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this from me, Dory Jackson. Bye for now.